If you're a fan of the Liberty, you got to be feeling good. The team has won 5 straight games. They have the best record in the W at 22-4, 2.5-game lead, atop the standings in the race for home court advantage throughout the postseason. However, standing in their way of continuing their winning streak is the defending champion Las Vegas Aces, who they will battle in Sin City on Saturday afternoon. So let's talk some Liberty hoops. We're going to do it with the WNBA writer for Winsidr and co-host of Pull Up with Myles and Owen. The great Owen Pence joins me now. Owen, what's going on?
How's it going, Dex? Great to talk to you.
I'm doing good, man. It's a good time trying to enjoy the end of the summer. We're getting towards the end of the WNBA season, a furious stretch, and we got this great matchup on Saturday afternoon. And Owen, with both teams having stars coming off of strong Olympic performances, how do you see this game shaping up between the Liberty and the Aces? And could this be a preview of this year's WNBA Finals?
So I think the only way this is not a preview of the WNBA Finals is if the Aces are not able to get up to the 2 or the 3 seed, because these are clearly the 2 best teams in the WNBA. And I think everyone, rightfully so, is penciling this in as the finals matchup if they are on opposite sides of the bracket. I think it's interesting what you said about, players coming off the strong Olympic performances. I think a lot of us expected a bit of a letdown coming back to this second half of the WNBA season. It would make sense after all they had to do in Paris to come back and just, have a few games where they had to get back in the groove with their W team. But what we saw with the Liberty on Thursday night in Los Angeles is that this team looked crisp. Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, the players who were playing on the Olympic team were in form, they were in rhythm, they were ready to go. And I think that's exciting for fans of the league and for people who are going to tune into this game, is that we might get a very accurate picture of how these teams stack up right now. I think the biggest question is the health of Chelsea Gray, the great point guard of the Las Vegas Aces. She's someone who also played on the Olympic team and is working her way back from injury. But I expect a really competitive game, and I think that the Liberty proved on Thursday night that they've already moved on from this Olympic break. They've already moved on from the gold medal, and they have their sights set on a WNBA title, the first one in franchise history.
Yeah, I think there was concern among the fan base. Would there be a letdown? Would there be a sort of hangover from the Olympics? There was none of that against the Sparks on Thursday night. And you talked about the schedule and the letdown, right? Because the Liberty, they're facing a grueling second half schedule coming off of the Olympic break. 15 games, Owen, in 36 days following the break. How do you think this will impact the team's performance and also their strategy in how they manage the roster moving forward?
I got exhausted just looking at the remaining schedule. I want no part of it. I think this is a really interesting talking point, though, because I think that Sandy Brondello, Jonathan Kolb, and really everyone involved in the Liberty organization learned a lot from last year's playoff run, and the fact that especially Breanna Stewart looked like she kind of burned out by the end of the run. The Liberty this entire season have been very intentional and very vocal about pacing themselves, wanting to peak at the right time. They know what the goal is, and they've been way more intentional about giving players rest, giving Stewie a day off here, managing Benaja's minutes. Benaja Laney is someone who is out right now with an injury, but even before she hit the shelf, she was someone who was taking practice days off just to make sure that she maintained her health here as we approach the stretch run and then the playoffs. And so I think you look at a game like Thursday night where the Liberty blew out the Sparks in Los Angeles, and Sandy made sure that everyone played, that no one's minutes exceeded even 25. They want to be fresh for the playoff run and for the finals. And so I think that especially in this very hectic final month of the season, we're going to see a lot of Kayla Thornton, a lot of Leonie Fibich, and a lot of the depth that New York possesses, which it didn't have last year. It didn't have the luxury of being able to go 3-4 deep into the bench with rotation players. This year they can, because the bench is that good. And I think it's going to be key in making sure that they peak at the right time.
Yeah, peaking at the right time is important. Staying fresh for the postseason, also important for the Liberty. As you mentioned with Breanna Stewart, saw some of that fatigue from her down the stretch in the semifinals and the WNBA Finals last year. And look, there's no doubt this is a big game on Saturday following the break. But looking beyond this afternoon's game, Owen, what are the long-term implications of this matchup for both teams as they push towards the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they're massive, and I think both teams are going to learn a ton from what transpires today. I think that this is a situation where both teams, when they met in the finals last year and then entered the offseason, knew that they needed to form their teams to beat the other. Like you can look at the other 10 teams, but ultimately what New York took from losing in 4 games to Las Vegas in the finals last year was that we need to improve to beat this very Las Vegas Aces team. And it goes both ways. I think right now with Chelsea Gray working her way back from injury, the Aces want to see where they stack up with the best team in the WNBA. The Liberty have been cooking everyone, including Las Vegas this season. If you're Vegas, the long-term implications of today are, do we still have it? Do we have enough juice to go for this three-peat, or do we need to make some last-minute adjustments here? Because so far they are just banking on the fact that, well, we've done this before, we know what it takes. But at a certain point, you got to push the button and you got to go. We haven't really seen it from the Aces against the top teams. We've seen them kind of hit their stride entering the Olympic break, but they haven't beaten New York. And as you said, that's kind of all that matters.
Yeah, that's what matters. That's what it comes down to. We'll see what the implications are for these teams. Right, as we mentioned before, Liberty's sitting in a good spot right now atop the standings, 2.5-game lead for home court advantage throughout the postseason. Okay, last thing for me, Owen. Time to talk about the keys. What are the keys to the Liberty extending their 5-game winning streak when they face the defending champions on Saturday afternoon?
So it's 2 things for me, and the first is going to sound so obvious that you may laugh, but it all revolves around A'ja Wilson. She is the best player in the league. We might be witnessing the greatest all-around season in the history of the league from A'ja Wilson. So everything that Sandy Brondello does today is going to revolve around stopping A'ja Wilson. Not only is she one of the league's best defenders, she is having an offensive season, the likes of which we've practically never seen from a power forward or center in terms of efficiency, in terms of dominance. She has the second highest usage percentage in the league. And New York is maybe the only team that is equipped to throw multiple different looks at her. Breanna Stewart, Jonquel Jones are 2 of the best interior defenders in the WNBA. So I think if I'm New York, I'm looking to switch up the looks, just make her uncomfortable and know that Vegas wants to get her the ball. I think the second key for me is offensively for New York, Jonquel Jones has to be a focal point. When JJ puts up double-doubles, this team is practically unbeatable, but there are stretches of games where it feels like, why are we not seeing MVP level Jonquel Jones? Then she'll turn it on and she's the best player on the floor. Breanna Stewart, we know what she can do. Sabrina Ionescu, we know what she can do. And those 2 players are very in rhythm from this Olympic break, as we mentioned. I think that Jonquel needs to be a focal point, and I think they really need to look and attack down low, because if A'ja is guarding Stewie, you go to Jonquel. If Asia's guarding Jonquel, you go to Stewie. You basically just have to avoid A'ja Wilson, who is the best player in the league. Easier said than done, but I think that'll be the key today.
Yeah, much easier said than done in terms of avoiding A'ja Wilson, also stopping and containing her as well, too. But you make a great point in the fact the Liberty of 2 of the best interior defenders in the league. We'll see how it all goes down. Should be a good one between the Liberty and the Aces on Saturday afternoon. Big matchup in the W. That is Owen Pence, WNBA writer for Winsidr. Check out his work there. Also check him out on Pull Up with Owen and Myles. Sorry, it's Myles and Owen. I said it the wrong way. It's Pull Up with Myles and Owen. Check that out. Really great podcast for everybody. Check out Owen. It's been a while. Always a pleasure to see you and talk to you. We'll do it again soon.
Likewise, Dex. Thank you.